Hello everyone, I am tessellating Hexagons, busting out my kimono for the first time in ages because yes, real men wear pink, internet you can fight me, and also, as far as I know, the people of Japan are generally typically honoured when people wear their traditional dress like this, so it's not cultural appropriation and I do have a good reason for wearing it. But why, I don't hear you ask, because this is pre-recorded, especially since I'm standing in front of the flag of Azerbaijan, and I'll be talking about the song from Azerbaijan that would have been at Eurovision 2020. Well, allow me to elaborate as if you don't already know, because you probably do already know if you're watching this video. So, their song for this year was going to be performed by Samira Efendieva, or just Samira Efendi for short, or just Efendi for even shorter, which by itself is actually an honorific in Turkish, so possibly in Azeri as well, I don't know for certain, and a song called Cleopatra, which might raise further questions, because Cleopatra was Egyptian, so why the kimono, Tess? Calm down, I'm getting to that. But before I do, Samira has been confirmed to represent Azerbaijan next year as well, so that's also a good. But yeah, so the song is fully in English, apart from one certain bit of it, where they quote, of all things, the O Daimoku mantra of the Dharma of the Lotus Sutra, which has its roots in Nichiren Buddhism, which originates in ancient Japan. So technically this is the first use of Japanese in a Eurovision song, unless you count that Poupée de Cire, Poupée de Sang had a Japanese language version of it, amongst others, and also there was like 2, maybe 3 words of Japanese in, I want to say 2006, sometime around then. It was in the junior contest anyway, so it doesn't really count, but anyway. Music and lyrics here by Luc van Beers, Alan Roy Scott, and Sarah Lake. That's quite a spread, and I have anecdotes pertaining to this song, but I'm getting ahead of myself. On with the first impressions! So, in the same way that Malta's song had been bounced around a bit before landing on being a ill-fated Eurovision 2020 entry, the first thing I knew about this song was that it too was originally submitted to another country, to San Marino of all countries, but Azerbaijan ended up taking it instead, and if that's not a bizarre rollercoaster of events from start to finish, I don't know what is. Plus, it's so hard to imagine Senate performing a song like this at all, much less for Little Soon Moo, but that song exists, you can find Senet's demo of it and listen to it. It's an experience, it's a different take on this song, it has a slightly different ending, and yeah. But getting back on topic, Azerbaijan was my #1 favourite of last year's contest, so they were in my good books going into this. My expectations were high, accordingly, and now that I've heard the song, well, I'm kinda torn. The short version of this review is, the good parts are really good, and the parts I like less drag it down more than I'd like them to. It's a game of extremes with Azerbaijan this year, but hey, I respect what they're going for with this one, what with the ancient Egyptian aesthetic throughout, the intriguing inclusion of the Namyo Horenge Kyo chant, and the whole I'm a self-confident boss kind of image that they're going for. Omedetou gozaimasu, Efendi-san. Wasting no time here, much like the song itself, when this song starts, you very well know about it. Efendi kicks things off with a powerful vocalization even before the instrumental begins, which sums a lot of the song up in just that action alone. It just screams, look at me, I'm the center of attention and I damn well deserve it. It makes a huge impression in less than 5 seconds. It also serves as a lead into the song's overall very strong dedication to its musical roots. It adheres to the kind of key that we typically associate with ancient Egyptian and North African music, and it slam dunks that aesthetic home with vocals to match, with visuals to match, and even the exact instruments to match within reason. Granted, there is a bit of leeway there, featuring a couple of Caucasian instruments too, but, I mean, the song's representing Azerbaijan, it's kind of only fair, they are literally one of the countries from the Caucasus, so if they want to put their own spin on the Egyptian style, go right ahead. And did I mention the inclusion of the Namyo Horenge Kyo chant, because they get some brilliant mileage out of that too, to very much the same effect. Something else that unifies the song's aesthetic is its backing dancers, judging by the music video. Effendi brings charisma by the bucketful by herself, but the video also showcases some seriously impressive lockstep choreography on the parts of her backing dancers, and that would add a lot of extra body and spectacle to the live staging. I feel like dressing them up as mummies is a bit insensitive though, so maybe dial that part back a little. Then again, I mean, who's it going to offend? Hatshepsut? The long dead people who are buried in the pyramids. But on the whole, I would anticipate staging on par with Azerbaijan's usual pedigree, come to think of it. And finally, to round things out, let's talk about the final minute of the song. The way it dips down to a very minimal arrangement for the dance break, only to rocket back up to 110% with the super aggressive pounding drums, is extremely effective at reiterating and bolstering the statement made by the vocalization at the start of the song, that this is a song about being powerful. And Samira is at the eye of that storm. In not so many words, the lyrics say, "I am the boss, you will bow down," and the music gives us every reason to believe that. Brilliant show, Azerbaijan. Still, remember what I said earlier. The highs of this song are very high, but the lows aren't negligible either. For one, I won't say that the verses are terrible, because they're not, but they do take some getting used to. In short, their melodies are rather vertically narrow. I've said that about another song this year as well. It gives them a kind of droning, potentially irritating effect depending on your taste. Chains on You fell foul of this too, but to a much more egregious degree. Still, if the melody were much broader, I suppose it would end up sounding overcompensating, so I guess it can't really be helped. The main thing with this song that people may not like, though, is the weird bit, trademark. Yeah, that's the song's central selling point that makes it stand out, but it's still hella weird. You know, how the verses cut to silence apart from Samira's vocals, and then the next thing you hear is that crazy deep voice doing the nam yo rengekyo, and then things go back to normal for the refrain. It can be extremely baffling, especially if you're not expecting it, and as an end result, that kind of makes it a rather divisive inclusion. Some people will find it to be a powerful part of the song, some people will find it unnerving, and some people will just refuse to invest in it and just write it off as stupid, like with Lithuania this year, or Azerbaijan's Horseman on a Ladder bit in 2017. And finally, let's look at the final minute of the song again. While I think the heavy double-time drums add to the song's climax, that's another example of a song's peak coming across as hyper-stimulating to people with auditory processing difficulties. Both the loud, bassy boom, 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 boom on every beat, not just the on or off beats, and the frequencies of the lead melody with the vocalization woven into it and the main vocals overlaid on top of that, it all comes together to produce something that can be really noisy to some people, with results ranging from disinterest from people who would just write it off, or outright painful to people who struggle to cope with that many sensory inputs working that hard all at once. I'm not saying that the song should be obligated to take every possible neurodiversion into consideration, I'm just saying that's something that might cause some people to not like the song quite so much. That's why I've been choosing my words so carefully with this section of the review these days. For now though, numbers. To be honest, I rewrote this part of the review several times over because my opinion just kept changing. I've settled on a 9 out of 10, but this is still kind of a cautionary tale. My first reaction was closer to a 6, because I really liked the good parts and really didn't like the less good parts. As time has gone on, it's more that I've grown accustomed to the less good parts, as opposed to learn to like them necessarily. But I can see that might not necessarily happen for everyone. When all's said and done though, given time, I've grown to like this song quite a bit. At Eurovision proper, people tuning in for the first time wouldn't have that amount of time, but then again, most people don't overthink things to the same degree that I do, so I suppose it all balances out, so yeah. Started as a 6, but here we are at 9 territory. On the technical side though, I think I'll reflect all of that with an 8. By all accounts, it should be at least a 9, but this comes as the accumulation of several small things piling up. On one side, you've got Efendi's strong, compelling presence, vocals, choreography, aesthetic, etc., and the song's solid aesthetic as well. Overall, this is a powerful entry. That's the word I keep coming back to. It's powerful. And for its message, that's perfectly fitting. On the other side, though, there are the small matters of how unsettling and random the Nammyo Horengekyo can come across as. And by the way, Hai, boku wa Nihongo wo hanasu koto ga dekimasu. And how hyper-stimulating the final minute can be. And also how kind of just noisy the verses can sound to some people with their relatively narrow melodic structure that adheres to ancient Egyptian style, perhaps to a fault in some places. It's still a strong entry though. Cross by Heart is a dim and distant memory at this point, that much is certain. So, is this a step in the right direction? I don't really know. I suppose this gets a blue arrow, because just like last year, Azerbaijan has internally selected a singer whose talents are known and established beyond any reasonable doubts, They've done their due diligence in sourcing a competitive song that would have turned heads at the contest on a number of levels. It worked for Chingiz, it probably would have worked for Efendi as well. And then, from that basis, they evidently poured time and money and effort into backing their song, what with the hype they tried to stir up around the release of the music video once again. And, of course, the music video itself. Azerbaijan doesn't know the meaning of the phrase amateur hour, and it shows. They'll be internally selecting Samira again next year, as I said, and my expectations are suitably high. Azerbaijan's ready to impress, because that's what they were bringing this year, and next year, well, they'll be back with a vengeance. But would it have qualified? I mean, absolutely. It's not even a question. Azerbaijan has only slipped up exactly once in their entire history of competing in the semi-finals, and that year it didn't really come as a surprise anyway. This year, they were once again sending a great singer with a song of a very persuasive nature and cogent presentational package, complete with a steady, constant aesthetic and a very strong vocalist who embodied the song's message down to the ground, just like last year. This is the sort of thing that would have got the televoters jumping and the juries bopping. I don't think it would have won simply because there were songs that the public hyped up a bit more than this, and I think the juries would probably hold off on giving it the maximum points out of a fear of it being too gimmicky, but I think it would have been as good as guaranteed a place in the top 10 by the end of the voting. But that's just me and my predictions on something that will never actually happen because cancellation, yeah. So, you lovely people, over to you. What do you think? As always, let me know in the comments. I love hearing what other people think because your opinions are valid too. And as an embodiment of that, iCard. Do you like this song? Do you not? Do you feel neutral? Let me know. I do love looking at those pie charts when all's said and done, seeing how people respond to each song. In the meantime, though, to Samira and to Team Azerbaijan, I wish you the very best of luck, and I can't wait to see what you're bringing next year, because you came out all guns blazing this year, and I think next year, there's nothing I can't say I haven't already said. I can't wait to see what you'll bring.